everybody. Welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We call it Monday Night Baseball on the network. Yes, am I loud or do I need to be louder? I don't know, whatever. Don't worry, I'll have plenty of time to get to everything on the show. Got my dream team. Let me go over everybody right away. Got Coach Trent Clark. Holy moly, added that. Okay. There we go. We got Coach. Got to flash those rings. We know that's customary. And Bigfoot, look at this, man. I love this. Now Barry Foot's getting into this broadcasting thing. Now we got a title for the guy. And my battery man. Hello, Eddie Prather. You'll be getting a message soon. We might bring you on once in a while. So send me a note through Messenger and let me know what date you're on. I need to get you in there. All right, Eddie, keep that in mind. Glad to have on. And we have my Uncle Warren Brewstar, who a lot of people know who he is, and I'm glad he's a part of our team. Hello, Uncle Warren.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. And we got Hollywood Tony on Wednesday. He is Bessemer City Tony. Okay, but tonight he is Hollywood Tony. And Candy, of course, our crack statistician. Eric Katz will be out for a couple of weeks or so. He has a few business things he needs to get squared away, but Katsy's a permanent part of the show, and let's get to it. So what we're going to do is, since we have started the season, I think there's no better way to start it off. We'll talk about how many managers has your team had since 2005. Let me go over the list of these because, my goodness, some of them just can't keep it straight there. And who leads the way in this stat? The Miami Marlins. They've only had 9. Okay. And then you have the Washington Nationals with 8. 7, you've had the Houston Astros, Kansas City Royals, Seattle Mariners. Why was I thinking Kraken? I don't know. They're hockey. Okay. New. Okay. You got the Chicago Cubs, New York Mets, San Diego Padres. Let's go down to the 6th category. You got the Baltimore Orioles, Chicago White Sox, the LA Angels, Texas Rangers, Cincinnati Reds, and we also have the Philadelphia Phillies and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Down to the 5th category, you have Boston Red Sox, people. Detroit Tigers, Toronto Blue Jays, Arizona Diamondbacks, yes, the Milwaukee Brewers are there, Colorado Rockies, LA Dodgers, San Francisco Giants. 4, you had Cleveland, Minnesota, the A's, and you also have Atlanta, and then you have St. Louis, and then you have at the bottom the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. Years ago, the Yankees would be at the top of that list, but when you were working with Hal Steinbrenner, it didn't quite that way. So when you look at this whole list, Trent, which one intrigues you or surprises you the most?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think the small market teams seem to hold on to teams like a little longer, right? Like some of the Midwest groups, I think they're loyal, right? Like the Twins and Cleveland. You got a few 4 or 5s there. Like, that's pretty nice in a 20, 25-year span. So, not shocking that the teams that are kind of at the bottom a lot are making a lot of changes at the top as managers. But, I think one of the things about managers that throws me off is I think ownership and business structure has a lot more to do with management than a lot of people think. And if there's not good business structure and management for an organization, an organizational structure that a manager fits into, I think that's the bigger challenges. And most of these teams are not run like a high quality business. They're run like an afterthought.
All right. So you said all that. Give me a team or two that stands out. Really? Seriously? Really?
I like that Cleveland's had very few. I like that. I like that Minnesota's had very few. That's good.
That's good.
Obviously, I'm a loyal guy. Like, I think I want teams to stick with somebody and stay with it, and I was a part of social staff in 2000. I think he started, and I think that guy got 17 years or something. I mean, pretty long time with the club. And I just think that's how it's supposed to be. I'm looking at the stats on Connie Mack, right? And going 3,731 wins and managed almost 8,000 games. Like, it's no joke. So you're just not going to see that in this era.
I like the fact that he brings up a Connie Mack reference, let alone the fact that it took him to really to get the answer out of him. You realize it got a lot to do with this show, but I like your contribution. You definitely keep me cranking. All right, Bigfoot. Let's see if you can follow Clark's act.
Well, I think it's reflective somewhat too of the minimization that most organizations put on the value of a manager. I think that's changed. I think you got these eggheads at the top now that think that they know more about baseball than actual baseball people. So I think they've devalued what a manager is. But I think it's, teams that win keep their managers, teams that lose get rid of their managers. As far as teams that, I actually appreciate what the Yankees have done with Booney. I like the fact they've kept him. I don't think they've lose because he hasn't done a good job. I think they've done, they just haven't developed the players. Like when they were winning, they developed players, especially strong up the middle. They haven't done that. They're trying to do it, but it's just hard to put clubs together if you don't develop from within. I think, I think it's kind of surprising that Tampa Bay is keeping the manager. I like the manager. I think the manager there is a good manager, and he should stay.
Yeah.
I think the Marlins are reflective of the Marlins organization. I think it's a piss poor organization, and I think it's reflective of what happens on the field, and especially at the top. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, you're right. I mean, Aaron Boone's been there a while. Kevin Cash has done an unbelievable job. I'll say this: in the short time I've seen him, and we haven't been out to a Marlins game yet. Oh, we did go to one during spring training, but Clayton McCullough has the chance to be pretty good. He really has, but time will tell how that works out. All right, Uncle Warren, go ahead.
Well, the thing I find interesting is the small market teams in the Midwest, or the Central Division teams, tend to have a tendency to keep their managers a little bit longer. And I think it's because they don't have as much pressure as they do in the big markets. Big markets are expected to win year in, year out. They don't care one way or the other what you have for talent. They still expect you to win. I find that very interesting. How I don't think they don't have as much pressure on them to win, and they can keep their jobs longer, because every time the manager gets fired, if the team's struggling, it's always the manager's fault. But he never makes a pitch or hits the ball. It's the people around him that end up causing his demise.
Yeah, is there any one or two on that teams on that list that actually stand out a little more, or you just want to limit it to small market?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting. The Giants now they're starting to turn over managers. Bruce Bochy was there for a long time,
right,
and gave the organization some stability. And now that he's gone, they're going from manager to manager to manager. And so it just depends on what they can do. If they want a whole new change, and now they've redone everything with Buster Posey taking over the front office and trying to get back to their winning ways of the 2010, 20, or 12 and 14. Get those guys back and developing talent. You've got to develop talent from your organization. I mean, it's that simple.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have a lot of homegrown players, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, no question. Okay, Hollywood.
I think the bigger markets were a little more fair than what we're saying. If I think about the Yankees, as like growing up as a Yankees fan, my dad always talks about how Hal fired a lot of people. I only know 3 managers in my lifetime: Joe Torre, Girardi, and then now Boone. Mike Scioscia in LA, he kind of dined on that championship for a long time, maybe longer than some people might have expected. The team that stood out to me is the Astros, because outside of you think about them being successful recently, but it was some dark times in the early 2000s with the Astros. They probably wouldn't have had that much manager turnover if it wasn't for the scandal, right? It probably would still be AJ Hinch's job. And then they had Dusty Baker took over, which at his age, he was managed for 20, 30 years. And then he retired and gave it to the guy who's there now. So it's I feel like Houston probably wouldn't be on so high on the list if they didn't get caught with the trash cans. But the large markets, I think the pressure comes because those markets normally spend the money. So it's unfortunately easier to get rid of a manager than get rid of these players with these high dollar contracts. And when you do put these teams together, they feel like they did their job. So the only failure isn't an option with these coaches. So I think that's where the coaches get fired in those situations.
Let me tell you, Joe Espada will do a good job with the Houston Astros, and Dusty Baker did a good job getting them a championship. All right, Candy, you got the final word on it.
I think part of it, and everybody's had some really good points. Part of it is the spending. Part of it is what does the organization as a whole do? Who has the best minor league system to feed into the major league system? Some of the top minor league systems for 2026 for the preseason, Milwaukee Brewers. They were 2025 Organization of the Year, recognized for excellent scouting and development per Baseball America. St. Louis Cardinals boast a highly talented system. The Dodgers, recognized for their consistent elite player development and talent depth. And the Tigers consistently rank in the top 5 as well. So I think some of those teams stand out to me because they know how to develop their players in the minor league system and bring them up and to the major league system. And I think that makes a difference for these managers with the talent that they have, because some of them can't spend and the organizations don't spend the money on the talent, so they have to develop the team as well.
Well, I'll just say AJ Hinch has done a well of a job with the Tigers, that's for sure. And obviously, he got his contract extension. A lot of topics to get to. Want to make sure we got this one done because the season starts with managers. And we not only know the organizations that have gone out there and had a lot of them. All right, let's go to a rest in peace because this happened about about 5 weeks ago to Bill Mazeroski, Hall of Fame second baseman, known as one of the greatest home runs in baseball history. So let's give me your thoughts, Trent, on Bill Mazeroski and what he actually meant to baseball and obviously that historic home run.
Yeah, very historic home run, right? The call heard around, So, yeah, I think, another great from a small market back in the day that was well accomplished. And, I think when people think of Pirates baseball and these are names that come up, and Clemente. And so it's neat that you have like a historical perspective of a city attached to players. And, in the era of today, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, right? Because like Ohtani is going to be considered maybe an LA guy because he was an Angel for a long time and then he's an LA guy. But,
right,
do the guys stick? The kind of the guy I think in the modern era is like Jeter, a 20-year Yankee, right? And so I think, that era, you did have players that you associated with the team, with the town, with the city. And Maz was kind of like that. And I think obviously a great ball player. So, not in my era, man, before my day. So this is gonna be a little bit better for Warren and Bigfoot. They just know it better.
Well, that's okay. Well, I mean, obviously, Bill Mazeroski is known for what he did with one big home run. And when you're talking about playing on the big stage, this is when names tend to get magnified a little bit more. Big stage, even back then, was big because it was a World Series. All right, Barry.
Well, I think it nailed it head as far as what made him famous was the 1960 home run to win the World Series. I did have an interesting. He was gone when I actually started playing in the big leagues, but I went up to Montreal in the after the season one year, and they took us through the clubhouse. I think I was my second year in pro ball, and they let us go in the visiting clubhouse. We walked through to go through the field, and they took us over to show us Mazeroski's glove. Mazeroski's glove was like a pancake. It was the damnedest thing. It looked like the real throwback gloves that you would see, way back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, he obviously, and I heard he was really tough. You didn't even want to slide into him. As they said, hitting his legs were like hitting a fire hydrant. So he was a tough guy. Obviously, he's very well known for being a Pittsburgh Pirate for his career. A marginal Hall of Famer, but he's in the Hall, and after you get in, who cares? But he's certainly iconic for the home run.
Okay, Warren. Obviously, you might be closer to the Mazeroski area than any of us.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'll never forget. I mean, to this day, I begged my mother because it was the 7th game of the World Series. I said, "Mom, let me stay home from school today and watch the game." So my next door neighbor had a reel-to-reel, and she taped it. And it was like a 3.5 hour game. But I went over to their house that night and listened to the, I knew what happened, but I listened. I got to listen to the entire game that night. So it was a thrill. But, back in the day, you did associate players with teams. Mazeroski played all those years in Pittsburgh. Clemente, the Giants had Mays, McCovey, Cepeda, all those guys, they stayed with the same teams all those years. And then free agency hit, and now players go from team to team. So you don't see the guys playing for teams for 15 years, 18 years. So you can associate that team. You have to look, you got to get a scorecard when they get to spring training and find out what team has which players. I went through all the rosters the other day just to see where guys had gone. It's amazing how players shift, and and that's just the way the game is structured today. It was structured totally different. But he was a great player, and like Barry said, he's a marginal Hall of Famer, but he's in the Hall. And it's still an iconic home run, and we were talking about it 66 years later.
Hey, Hollywood.
All right, so this was a little bit before my time, just a little bit.
But
I will
quit bragging.
just a little bit, not much, just a little bit. But like you said, all you guys pretty much said it. I think about my dad, and he always says, like, with any sport that he watched, he can almost go a decade and not have to look at the roster for like major turnover. And you're just never going to see that anymore in any sports. But I couldn't imagine him being a 23-year-old hitting a home run to win the World Series, literally on top of the world, and a hero, man. RIP to him. Now, I don't know much about him, but great career, clearly cemented in Pittsburgh history, has to be. That's all I got.
I don't know, for a guy that was way before his time. It's all right. That's okay. All right, Candy.
So here's a side of Bill. Obviously, he's before my time too. Just so we make it clear, Tony, you're not.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you, Candy.
But here's part that I didn't know. He was an 8-time Gold Glove Award winner. He's particularly noted for his ability to make the pivot and turning double plays. His 1,706 career double plays remains a major league record for a second baseman, and the most by any non-first baseman in history until shortstop Omar Vizquez passed him in 2009. He played 16 seasons, but he led the National League in double plays for 8 consecutive years and recorded over 100 double plays 11 times. Both are major league records.
Okay.
That I thought was just remarkable.
There you go.
We all talk about the home run, but here, look at what his Gold Glove was.
Our crack statistician Candy providing what this guy did defense, but yet he's known for what he did in the offense, and as a result, he's in the Hall of Fame. All right, welcome to the chat room with Eddie Prather and Cyberuski's back in. What's going on? You're back on, okay? Tell the rest of your guys if they can find a way to make it through Twitter, they're back. If not, it is what it is. Eddie Prather, always love to have him on any shows when he's in the chat room, because whatever Eddie says is generally good anyways. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to go back to baseball history for a few topics. And one of them was last year, they had one of the most bizarre games in baseball history, as yes, the Pittsburgh Pirates led Colorado 9-0 in one game, but wound up losing 17-16. Only at Coors Field does this happen. 9-0 and losing 17-16. Trent, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, only in Coors Field's right. It's a launching pad, that's why they should rename that stadium like the Colorado launching pad.
Yeah, right.
Because listen, no one wants to pitch there because your ERA is going to snot, and then good luck trying to get a contract after that. So it's you got to play the averages, and being a Midwest kid, like I really appreciate the fact like there's stats that are going to stack up against you. When you're a Midwest kid, you don't even start playing till like April 1st at best, and so. I can recall, in high school and college, if we went south, we were playing on a 2-1 record against teams that were 27-6, and it was, man, these guys have already played 33 games. It's a lot of experience behind you, and you got to recognize that playing in the cold and everything else is challenging. That's not easy. And, I don't know how often these teams are breaking that down and talking about, hey, this guy's got 6 years in Colorado. I mean, are we going to prorate that ERA against everybody else? Like, is that fair? And vice versa on hitting. You know, someone who hits 45 home runs in Colorado might produce, 25 in San Diego. So it's these are challenges that are real. And, and I think that's a perfect example. I mean, it's the major leagues. Like, no record is safe, right? There was another game years ago where someone had to clinch. Remember that? And they were up 9-1 and ended up winning the game like 11-10 in extra innings, right? And over the last couple of years, you've seen this where we all talk about how, everyone's throwing 100 miles an hour. And then I read the box scores in the next morning and I'm like, man, Colorado scored 2 touchdowns last night, like 14-10. Like, these numbers are getting silly. 8-6. We're not playing defense. Like, when I was, a kid growing up, man, we were watching games and 5-3 is a good ball game. 3-2 is a pitching duel. 2-1s are not uncommon. And you go for strategy and you go for all these things. And now they're a little bit more football scores. So, Colorado's not just an anomaly because the launching pad. It feels like the numbers are up for scoring all across the board, and maybe they think that sells tickets, but I don't think that's proven true.
Well, the only one that went there wasn't because of his pitching. It was Mike Hampton who loved to hit home runs. Go figure. Right? And Cyberowski, just so you know, Cassie's a part of the team. He's just out for a couple of weeks, that's all. But glad to bring him. Yeah, Cassie's a big part of our show, and I'll be back in due time. So I mean, Mike Hampton loved going there. His bat was a whooping stick in the high altitude. So, Barry, I got to ask you a question. Okay, you saw the score and the deficit. As a manager, I'm putting you in the manager's chair now, Barry. What are your thoughts about going through something like that?
Better bring out the sinker ballers and make the humidor a little bit more humid. So, Brew and I were in a very similar game. Wrigley Field can be similar to Coors Field when the wind's blowing out. Okay. And we were in a game with the Phillies, and we got down as the Cubs. We got down by 10 runs, actually caught back up, and it was 22-22 going into the 10th inning. Yeah, and right. Schmidt hit a home run to win the game. We had 2 outs, and Suter was pitching. We probably should have just walked Schmitty because he loved hitting in that ballpark, especially when the wind was blowing out. But, those kind of games can happen in those kind of ballparks. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You can just keep rolling. You go well, today, good Lord, the way they use pitchers today, they probably go through – I didn't see that box score. They probably went through 10 pitchers. So that can happen, especially early in the year and stuff. So,
well, I know there were a lot of lopsided scores during COVID-19. I know that. But that was a situation like no other. And I experienced it with Don Mattingly and the Marlins, and my gosh. Some of the lopsided scores just off the charts. All right, Uncle Warren. What are you doing in a game like this? 9-0. Then we got a little Yogi Berra. It's not over until it's over.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, a 9-0 score in the first inning in Coors Field's nothing. You just chip away, throw a run here, run there. You never know what's going to happen there because it's a launching pad. You can score 5, at the drop of a hat. But going back to that game in 1979, the Cubs and Phillies, we scored 7 in the first inning, and they scored 6 in the bottom of the first. It was 7-6 after 1 inning. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was just and we went through the whole pitching staff. Both teams did. Yeah, so I mean that's what you need in Colorado. You got to have sinker ballers. You got anybody.
What was the final score of that game? 23-22.
Yeah, in 10 innings, he hit a home run in the top of the 10th to win it.
45 runs scored.
Yeah. Ron Reed went into the game. It was off. It was the middle of May, so Ron Reed, we'd played, 25, 30 games, and Ron Reed's ERA was like 0.41. At the end of the day, his ERA was 4.5. He gave up like 10 runs in a third of an inning. Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous how the ball flew that day. I mean, it was blowing out. Anything popped up. Just one little thing about Wrigley. I love batting practice in the wintertime or in the spring and late fall. The wind's blowing in. It didn't matter. Lozinski'd hit these high, majestic balls and they'd die in the middle of left field. In the spring or when it's warm, he'd hit those balls and they'd be three blocks down the street. It was amazing what the wind, how the wind had an effect. It doesn't have as much an effect now because of the scoreboard. So but back then, it was only 20 rows of bleachers.
Yeah, but Uncle Warren. Well, hold on, Trent. Uncle Warren, let me ask you a quick question. Old Comiskey Park was known for the winds too, wasn't it? I remember when I walked in there with a jacket, and I said, I need a jacket. Took one, and all of a sudden I needed this thing.
Right. But that was a bigger yard. It was like 420 to 20 to center, something like that. It was 360 down the lines. Although it's 359 or whatever, 358 down one line in Wrigley. Yeah,
but when you get down in Chicago, whether it's Old Comiskey or Wrigley, that ball's going.
Oh yeah. I had to get both parks.
I had to get my echoes to the teeth out there. I'm glad I have an attendant on. And it's still there. Where did he hit it? There you go. That's when you talk about Chicago. All right. Welcome to the chat room. Door. Might see a triple probably, but he's in there too. All right, Hollywood Tony.
I was really going to ask Trent, Bigfoot, and Warren. Like, sometimes it doesn't even matter the park, right? That's just baseball sometimes. Like, can't nobody get out. And Warren and Barry, I both have experienced this in live time. You know what I'm saying? In the dugout. It happens. It just happened, opening day in a sense with the Rays and the Cardinals. The Rays were up 8-1 and lose 9-8. Sometimes it's just hard to get outs, man. It's more prevalent now because the long ball is so, one swing changes the game. But I do agree with what you were saying too, though, Trent. It gets boring after a while. Like, they feel like though the high scores are equaling more excitement, and it's really not. You're still just sitting there waiting on strikeout, home run, where the defense and seeing that is, to me, the beauty of the game. But playing in Colorado, who knows what can happen? Like you all said, this is launching pads. We've seen the longest balls hit in history of StatCast in Colorado, so that's bound to happen at some point. Plus, the Rockies don't always put out the best pitching, so you can get a lot of points out there.
So, Uncle Warren and Barry, I got a quick question for you. You remember my friend Tony DeMarco?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah.
What about you, Barry?
Barely, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He's my mentor, by the way, when it came to being a writer. Tony was my mentor. The first one that Andrew was willing to show me. So just thought it's just for talking Colorado. All right, Candy.
It was only the third time in the divisional era since 1969 that a team won after trailing by at least 9 runs in the first inning. This game included 33 runs and 40 hits. The Rockies chipped away at the lead through though the Pirates still led 16-12 in the 9th inning. Brenton Doyle hit a walk-off 2-run home run to win 17-16. Pretty kind of cool that you end with a walk-off home run.
Yeah, let alone a game like that. Let's continue through baseball history. I feel like we haven't done a lot of it lately because of the World Baseball Classic, so I'm going to get caught up with a couple more. And then I know Trent's here till 9. I want to make sure we get one of the main topics in that he should have a comment on. Let's talk baseball history. August 13th, 1995. Unfortunately, Mickey Mantle passed away. So what are I don't know, Trent, what you knew or watched Mantle play, but what are your best thoughts about Mickey Mantle?
Yeah, I mean, legendary, right? Mickey Mantle. I mean, his name is iconic. I liked them, I liked referencing the Mick because as a strength and conditioning guy, I felt like Mickey was one of these first guys that was so strong. Like he was so built. He's got the kind of brick house look. He's got the big shoulders. He's got Popeye forearms. And Mick grew up on a farm baling hay. Throwing rings on the barn and then throwing wet hay in the top of a barn. Have you ever tried to throw wet hay into any hay into the top of the barn? These bushels are freaking heavy, right? And this guy's tossing them up. And I remember people talking about the Mick. I met him once, and it was pretty late. And he'd been done playing for 20 years, and people used to talk about how he would swing the bat and the sound it would make on a dry swing, And Kirk Gibson kind of had that too. Like he'd swing the bat and you'd hear it kind of like a lightsaber. And I can imagine, you know, a guy who's that strong growing up on the farm, like, man, 35 ounces? This is nothing. I'm used to throwing 100 pounds up to the top of the barn. Like, you know, like, what is this to me? And so it was really important for me talking to veteran players who really knew some of the best players and how they stress their bodies in different way to get strong. And, you know, that was a big thing for me when I first started with Sparky Anderson, right? He thought weightlifting was bad. And I was like, you know, we used to talk about the Mick. We were like, you know, he got strong on the farm. I'm like, we just gave this guy $2.1 million. Like, he doesn't need to go work on a farm. Like, he doesn't need to work at Target. Like, he just bought $100,000 car. It's everything we can do to get this guy to a gym for 90 minutes or 2 hours every year in the off season, every day, to get him physically strong like that, to prepare his body for what's about to happen. And because they certainly didn't have to work. And, you know, all those guys in that era, they worked on the railroad. They did lifting ice and did that in the cities, like moving ice blocks. And they did tough jobs that were physically labor intensive. And nobody needed to do that anymore. So, and also spring training was designed to get ready, like come and get in shape. Now everybody comes with a personal trainer, a chef, and, you know, the 6 weeks actually is probably too long for spring training. We probably only need like 3 weeks and let's go.
Yeah, great points, especially on the spring training stuff. Right, great stuff. Okay. All right, Barry, Mickey Mantle.
Oh, and look, Mantle was a great, unbelievable when you think about it. He had the most power in the league and was the fastest guy in the league. When does that happen? Almost never. And I was fortunate enough to be in spring training with him for several years with the Yankees, where he came in as just one of the former Hall of Famers they like to bring in for spring training. And you could always tell if the Mick had a bad night the night before in spring training. He was very surly the next day. Other than that, he was very friendly and loved to talk. But if he wasn't talking, he had a bad night the night before. But iconic guy. I mean, unbelievable. You know, when you make it in New York, the world is your stage, and that's what it was for him. You know, I think the most interesting thing he ever said was, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. So that's, I think, said it all about the Mick.
Great. I'm good. Thanks for sharing that, Barry. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, I was fortunate enough when I was a little boy that when CBS bought the Yankees, they put them on the weekends because we didn't get games on TV in the Bay Area in San Francisco. We just got the Giants when they played the Dodgers. We got 9 games a year. So I got to see the Yankees every time they were on the weekends when they were at home. So I got to see quite a bit of Mickey. And then in the last year, 1967, we had friends in Chicago. We went to Comiskey and saw them, sat right at the Yankees, right in front of the Yankee dugout, or right behind the Yankee dugout, and got to see all those guys. They were all still together. It was one of the last years that they were together. So it was a thrill to get to watch him play. So I did get to see him play once live. And what a career. I mean, I was looking up his numbers, and it was ridiculous, the things he did. And guys in that era, you know, the sluggers didn't run like he ran, and he stole bases. He could do it all. You know, he was your quintessential 5-tool player.
All right, Hollywood, don't tell me before your time or Candy's going to shave that beard off. Okay, but what are your thoughts about Mickey Mantle?
Slightly before my. No, I'm joking. What? Probably the greatest switch hitter ever. Like you said, batted for, slugger, but also had speed. The thing that's interesting reading about him was like learning that he played most of his career injured, with bad knees and like getting hurt his rookie year. So imagine what could have been, right? Think about how many more bases he might have been able to steal if he actually felt well. Like his legs can actually carry him to do so. He would probably be looked at as even a greater player if that's even possible. People were just built different back then. Like you said, they had hard jobs and they still came and played baseball at a high level. That's why, like me to this day, I can't get athletes not playing 150 games in baseball, playing at least 75 games in basketball. Like, these situations just baffle me, that these players are what they call bigger, faster, stronger. And we always forget to add a comma and put frail to end it. Like, it makes no sense to me when I hear about what players did back in the day and how they still performed their job as athletes, and he was one of them. But yeah, that's the oddly enough, as great as he is, that's the one what if. It's like, what if he was able to be healthy? What if he had all the training staff that these players have and a chef and stuff like this now? What he would have been able to do then.
Great stuff, Hollywood. That's my boy. You're doing great. Okay, Candy.
So I'm going to take it a bit further, though, Hollywood. I don't think he would have had the same numbers. And here's why. Here's why, though. Let me say a couple things first. He is one of the only players to hit 150 home runs from each side of the plate. Yes. He batted 300 or more, 310 times or more. But the one reason why I say this is because on July 1950, after the start of the Korean War, Mantle was drafted for military service. The draft board rejected him as he was physically unqualified for military service due to some of his conditions of his left leg, and gave him a 4F deferment. The first of 3 times he was rejected for military service. So I think if he had been healthy, he would have been drafted. He would have served in the military, and maybe he wouldn't have been the baseball player that he was. So, but he was an awesome baseball player. He could hit for power from both sides, and that made him one of the biggest threats.
All right, like Barry, okay, I saw Mantle a few times when I was covering the Yankees in spring training. But here's the thing with me, okay? Out in Cooperstown, there was a place called Mickey's Place, and I used to eat there a lot when I went there. I don't know how many people are familiar. And you know what? I have 2 Mickey Mantle Hydrostone shots with him with a bat in his hand. I don't know how much they are in value, but I'll tell you one thing. Those, to me, those Hydrostone statues are unbelievable. Mickey Mantle, heck of a player. Proud to own the statues. Glad we got to the topic. One more piece of baseball.
Scott, can I add one quick thing?
Sure.
His career spanned from 1951 to 1968. The only years he did not make the All-Star game was 1951 and 1966. Otherwise, he played in every other All-Star game in his career.
And that's why he's in the Hall of Fame. All right, thanks for adding that. All right, we'll talk about something that doesn't happen a lot, but in 1933, on August 14th, it did, because Jimmy Fox hit for the cycle. Okay, Jimmy Fox hit for the cycle. We know how tough it is. Any thoughts, Clarky, about Jimmy Fox doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any thoughts. I mean, again, we're back. I love this day in history, right? Like, back to way before my era. But, Jimmy Fox, 20-year ball player, man. It's like, I think 25 to 45 was his era.
Yeah.
And, and Jimmy, man, I mean, he's kind of always put in with the greats of that era, which is impressive. I mean, I don't, this is all before a lot, no TV, right? And yet the only way you're known is through journalism or your stats. Like, that's it, because people are they're gonna listen to the radio, maybe hear the games that way. And Jimmy Fox was legendary in those days. So, not a surprising stat that Jimmy Fox would hit for the cycle to me, knowing kind of his legendary status during that era. And 20 years playing, you'd think a guy of his skill would probably get a couple of those, couple little cycles.
Okay, Barry.
Obviously one of the all-time greats. He's even before my time. So
what? Bigfoot, no way.
But I think Clarky hit the nail on the head. A guy like that. I mean, really, it almost might be more surprising that he never hit for the cycle, because he was always hitting home runs and doubles and triples. So not surprising. One of the all-time greats. Very iconic. I think when you think about that era, he was the guy that kind of came after Ruth for hitting home runs, and and he was right-handed hitter, so he was probably the all-time right-handed hitter of that era. So from the standpoint of power, for sure.
Uncle Warren.
Well, yeah, he was obviously a great player, a Hall of Famer, and even I, it's being before my time also. So, but it's stuff you heard about. I mean, I always loved the history of the game, and guys like that stood out. His nickname was the Double X or the Beast, and I'm wondering where the Beast came from, because he was 6 feet tall and weighed 180 pounds. So I was curious to where that came from, but was a great player. Good power, and in those days the ballparks were bigger too, so you could hit more triples. So it gave hitters a lot of chances, or a lot of guys with speed that could turn those doubles into triples.
Well, Comerica Park started out as a triples park until it scared everybody away. They didn't want to come there. I can appreciate where you're coming from. Yeah, well, Chase won Gonzalez out of there. He wanted no parking. Mike Gillis is going to offer him a lot of money. I ain't playing here. No way. He scooted. Comerica Park got rid of Juan Gonzalez. Okay, Hollywood.
Warren took my point. Shout out to Jimmy Fox. Don't know much about him, but one thing I do know, those parks were huge back then. Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize it until I think like the last year or the year before, when they went down to Birmingham and they were showing where the fields where Willie Mays used to play. We're talking 450. We're talking like these are made for triples, which made it impressive when people hit home runs on those fields, by the way. But yeah, the triple is the hardest thing to get in the cycle. Most of those fields were built for triples. So still an amazing feat nonetheless.
Okay, Miss Statistician, what you got?
For nearly 67 years, he held the record for the youngest major leaguer to reach 500 home runs. His 534 home runs are currently 19th all-time, and his 1,922 ribbies are 10th all-time. He had a career batting average of .325, a slugging percentage of .609, and Scott, did you know this? He actually started as a catcher, but because he was behind two other very well-known catchers, he eventually switched to first base.
Okay. There you go. There you have it. That's the Jimmy Fox story. All right.
Hey, Motor City, can we start with Candy's stats? Because that'd be really helpful if we had all those to talk a little bit about Jimmy Fox from 1925 to 45. If I could get Candy's stats in advance.
Hey, Clarky, you know what? I actually like suggestions like that. All right, Candace. Okay. All you need to do is just look at the topic order and just start preparing. I'll go ahead, or maybe I'll have to stick you in the back as well, or near the back.
Just stick me at the back of the bus.
You're right. Well, right now you're my right-hand man. You don't want to be the right man. We'll put some for you. That's no big deal. This one should be an easier, Clarky. This one's a little bit more elementary for you. It should be elementary for everybody. Pitching stats, we're going to talk about ranking according to MLB. I'll tell you what, we're going to go in order as to what they said. This is something that recently came out. Obviously, we'll be monitoring pitching all year. We start off with the Dodgers at number 1, Seattle Mariners number 2. You have the Philadelphia Phillies are number 3, the Boston Red Sox 4th, the Detroit Tigers are 5th, Pittsburgh Pirates are 6th, New York Yankees 7th, the Milwaukee Brewers are 8th, and the Toronto Blue Jays are 9th, and the New York Mets 10th. Okay, Candy, we don't need a million stats on this one, okay, but I'm going to ask everybody's opinion of these teams, which one stands out. All right, go ahead, Barry. We'll leave Clarky for a little bit toward the end here so he can absorb a little bit.
Well, it's hard. Look, pitching is very simple. Who's going to stay healthy? Whatever staff stays healthy will be the best staff. If the Dodgers are able to keep their pitchers healthy, they're going to be tough. Look, the Yankees could be a top staff, but they're not healthy. So, I think it really boils down to who can stay healthy that has good pitching. That'll be the best pitching staff. And it's just hard these days to keep guys healthy for whatever reason.
Okay, Uncle Warren.
Right. Well, Barry's got a great point. That's what it is. It's all about health. You got to stay healthy and be able to post. You got 5 starters, and you want them each to post at least 30 times. So if you do that, you got 150 starts. And then you're in good position. You're in good shape, and you don't have to rely on your bullpen as much, and bring one of your swing guys or long man out of the bullpen into the start all the time. That's a trickling effect. Once one guy gets hurt, then somebody's got to step up. I know in 1985 in Chicago with the Cubs, we were in first place, and all 5 of our starting pitchers proceeded to go down. In the middle of June, we lost 13 in a row. So, I mean, that's how important pitching is. we reached down to AAA and didn't have anybody in AAA to help us, and we just got killed.
No kidding. That's interesting. Okay, Hollywood.
Man, how good is Paul Skeens that him alone can make the Pirates a top 5 staff? I mean, you talk about somebody carrying the weight. Sheesh Louise. That's one thing that stood out to me. And that's when it comes throughout the length of the season, you're right. It all comes down to health. But I figured that list was based off right now. And geesh, Paul Skeens is carrying a lot of weight for Pittsburgh, because I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't name their number 2 starter, and I definitely can't name their number 2. So that lets me know that is based off of Paul Skeens' skill set and how good he is. Everybody else are the usual suspects, which I would think would be top 4 or 5 for the league, but that really stood out for me.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Howard, Hollywood Tony makes a great point. I thought he was in the 4th slot in Pittsburgh for the first 3 weeks until I realized he wasn't on their staff, because I don't know who their staff is, right? So I thought Hollywood Tony might be their 4-hole, right? So, I do look at the depth of, I think Bigfoot hit it right on the mark, which is you got to stay healthy, right? You got to have your arms ready to go. And that's throughout the year. And to Warren's point, if you lose your 1 and 3, even for a month, man, and you move 2 up to 1, 4 up to 2, and now you got 2 kids coming out of the minors for 4 and 5 slots, it's rough. But, I do think championship organizations do change things. When I was in Cleveland and we were in those World Series runs between 95 and 97 there, we had Cologne in the minors, Jared Wright. We had arms, man. We had a lot of people going in the minors, and so we had some guys that were always at that level where you're hey, you're going with experience at the major league level, but this kid could come in and he's got just as good as stuff, but no experience there. Now you're looking at mentality. Can they maintain and I think that's kind of exciting about they were talking on the broadcast the other day about the Tigers rookie, right? Their 3rd baseman, right? McKinney. He doesn't seem to be he's pretty ready. The big show, the lights are on, and man, he's ready for it. This is no dress rehearsal for him. He acts like he belongs there. It's a big deal. And the same thing in the Angels organization, especially that 0-2 championship, when we brought up guys like Lackey, Brendan Donovan, some of these guys, K-Rod was getting ready, and he came up late in that year. You got 4 years of these guys in the minors developing them and getting them that mentality and getting good reps in spring training and September call-up. So when it's time to go, it kind of reminds me of a good, college football team or an NFL team. If you're a backup in those leagues, you're always ready to go. And we were training athletes at that level. When you hit AA, you are 1 injury away. If you're sitting as a AA guy and Barry Foot's a guy, yeah, he's the guy. But if we got a 31-year-old at AAA behind Bigfoot here, and you a 21-year-old who's hitting 340 at AA, they're going to give the young kid a shot and go give him the 20 games while we got Barry out and get those wheels turning, because the 31-year-old journeyman, they kind of know what they got. And so if you're a pitcher and you got that mentality ready, I think depth is a big part of it too. Health and depth kind of play a role in the staff, and that's going to play out a lot more. And the other thing is all the numbers of what they're going to be. They always say that, and then you got 2 guys on the staff that are 2 and 10 at the All-Star break, and you're holy crap, I thought these guys were going to do something. And we've seen that the mentality of support behind players. Mm-hmm. For some reason, there's guys that get out there and they got a 3.4 ERA and the team's averaging 1.4 runs in the last 2 months for this guy, and the guy can't win games. So he goes out and competes, but for whatever reason, it doesn't line up. So, I think stats and predictions are great, but what? Come and find out, right? That's how we're going to find out who's going to lead it.
Yeah, so again, for the 2nd time in the show, give me one of these, would ya? Remember the list?
Oh, I got to give you what? I got to give you another text?
Come on.
What do you need now?
You got more moves than Barry Sanders. Really? Seriously, really?
That's right. I'm a Detroit guy, man. I'm ready to move like Barry.
I gave
Yeah,
you
that's
10
right.
teams. Stick them in. Pick one, would you?
Give me Motor City. I'm
Give me
going. You're
one.
right. I'm going to go Barry Sanders right now. Right? Like, listen,
See,
if you
I'm
don't
talking
have, if
about
you
one
don't,
of the 10 teams on this list. Of course, it's about Barry Sanders. We're both Trojans. I get it. It's okay. I'm proud of you. I love you.
on the surprise, on my big surprise is with Tony Pittsburgh. How in the hell do you
All
get
right,
that?
well, that's what I was looking for. Fred Sanford, here
I
I
went a
come.
long way. I went a long way to get there.
You think? Yeah, you went. I'll tell you what. You went the distance of the Canadian Football League team to get that one. They go far and wide. All right, Candy, give me something other than 9 million stats. Good job, Clark. Yeah, I need somebody to have fun with when he comes out once in a while, and he's the ultimate guy.
Like, there's a couple Canadian football leagues that have more depth at pitching than actually the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, in fairness,
Oh, that's funny. You're going to have to send me a text message as a kudos to you. Okay, you're good at that, anyways. All right, Candy.
I have to say, I was a little surprised to see Milwaukee up there as high as they are. You know, with Freddie Peralta leaving, we no longer have Devin Williams as well. Brandon Woodruff, you know, coming off injury. Jacob Mizorowski, yes, he's young. But what I also would say is when we talk about pitching, you can't talk about pitching without talking about the catcher that's behind the pitcher and the fielders behind him, because if they don't do good fielding, like, your pitching isn't going to matter. Like, if you're not catching these fly balls, if you're not throwing them out, and these guys aren't getting on base, they're not getting the hits because the fielding is really excellent behind them. So I think, I mean, it all works hand in hand, but I think, especially in the past, I think a catcher made a big difference. Now with ABS, it's not maybe as big of a deal because I think you framed a lot of pitches, you moved it around a lot. I don't know that you're in the new modern game, you're going to have as much of that, but I think that matters because I think there are some pitchers that really click with their catchers, and that matters. But yeah, I'll be honest, I was kind of surprised to see the Brewers up as high as 8th.
All right, I'll end the topic. Clark, we got one more topic for you. It's about Verlander, okay? And then we'll let you out of here on that note. I like the Tigers. Even at 5, they added Framer Valdez recently, Kenley Jansen in the back of that bullpen, Kyle Finnegan saved, Justin Verlander, whom I'm about to talk to in a few minutes. And, of course, you got Terrace Skubal in there as well. So they're pretty solid up and down that rotation. Speaking of which, we'll segue over to Verlander, who obviously faces the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight in the desert. He's pitching for the Tigers for the first time in 3,134 days, and that's 8.5 years. Candy, give me the stat that he has and what he's looking to get to 300 wins, because he may be the last guy to do it. Verlander's on the hill tonight in the desert. Candy, actually, you can lead off on this topic.
His win-loss record is 266 with 158 losses. His ERA is 3.32. And then his strikeouts is 3,553. Now, that is obviously through the end of last season. We don't count spring training or anything like that. You know, he's a 9-time All-Star. Just had a lot. He has the most career postseason strikeouts at 244. He's pitched 3 no-hitters. He has had an amazing career. Will he get to 300? I think if he can stay healthy and if he has an offense behind him with the Tigers and he gets run support, because that's some of the problems that he had before, is he wasn't getting the run support behind him. I think he can get it. It's not going to be easy. He has to have a really good year this year and more than that, because he's not going to get 34 wins this year. I don't know.
Yeah, and next week, since not 186 baseball talk, we're going to talk about Tigers rookie sensation Kevin McGonigal. We didn't have time for it tonight, but that's one of the topics we're going to address there. The kid's off to a really good start. Okay, Clark, your thoughts about Verlander?
Man, you know, I love the guy's competitive nature, man. 43 years old, you know, like, you know, he's an elder statesman, right? Like, you got LeBron 41, Aaron Rodgers is 40, right? Phillip Rivers, 44, trying to come back.
Yeah.
Like, you got these guys that are doing it, but he's always competitive, man. I mean, first of all, you don't look at him and see 43, which is interesting. Maybe Kate Upton's keeping him young. I mean, that's always good. He's got a great, he's got this relationship. He's in the public. He's been in the public a long time. He's not afraid of the spotlight. So, I think he's going to be an integral part of whether the Tigers can really get over the edge and really make a good run. He's got to stay healthy because that's going to be really important. But he's a guy who's like, you got another coach out there, right? Like, I mean, 43 years old, 20 plus career. I mean, I know the Tigers are really bullish on Justin kind of being a part of a winning season, and so there's a lot of dynamics when you got you got McKinney out there, who I don't think was born when Verlander hit the league, right? So it's a weird dynamic, but it's gonna be fun for all of us up here in Motor City, right, Mad Mouth? Like, there's a lot of dynamics to the Tigers this year to watch, and hopefully it's all those parts, and the family, the Illiches have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it and want a competitor, and and he's gonna be a linchpin, and I don't think though it'll make or break it with Verlander, but I think he's gonna be a key element to how far they go.
Oh, no question about it, Clarky. And when he broke into the league, he had a guy like Kenny Rogers as a mentor.
Yeah.
Now he's able to mentor these people as well. All right, Clarky, great stuff. So with that said, I know you got to roll under the following conditions. Promote yourself really quickly. We appreciate you being on. I love having you on every week because I need somebody as my kicking boy, and you certainly set yourself up for it. But it's all about love there, Clarky. I've known you a long time. I don't ever take nothing personal. But I need somebody like you on the show because you jazz it up. Put it out there, float it all.
Yeah, well, I am Trent Clark, and I am from the Mitten, which apparently Motor City used to slap me around with today. Like he's beating me up with the Mitten today.
You deserved it.
Yeah, I deserved it. So I am Trent Clark, Trent at leadershipity.com. I am the host of Winners Find a Way. You can find my podcast on all the major networks, and I am the author of Leading Winning Teams, and I am a growth coach. So if you're looking to help your organization and your team grow and become a championship team, I'm your guy. We'll help you double fast the value of that business. So excited. And
we love having Clark on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Let me tell you, this guy's he's A1 in my book. We love it. Keep coming back for that 1 hour, Trent. You definitely make life interesting. Thanks for being on tonight. Appreciate you. Okay.
Always love being with this group. 108 Stitches. See ya. Thanks.
You bet. All right. So let's continue with the rest of everybody here and talk about where we're at, which is where we are at. And that's Justin Verlander. Barry.
First ballot Hall of Famer. Great car collection. Great wife. Will not win 300 games. Sorry. But very valuable because he's going to show these young pitchers what a competitor is on the mound. So I think it's all good. He's just never going to reach 300, in my opinion. That's difficult to win. He's probably got 2 years left. It's hard to win, 17 games a year, average for 2 years at 43 years old. Innings are going to be cut down. Pitches are going to be cut down. But great guy on the ball club. If they win, it'll be because he did a good job for them.
Okay, great. Fair enough. Okay, Uncle Warren.
I totally agree with Barry. It's without question, first ballot Hall of Famer. And to have him on that pitching staff to mentor those young pitchers, it'll bring the whole staff to a higher level. And they have one of the top 10 pitching staffs in baseball right now, as far as everybody's concerned, and they should get better. He'll be a big part of that. If they win, he'll be a big reason that they win.
Okay. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I'm echoing everybody else, but even outside of just the pitching staff, just the team as a whole, right? If you remember last year, towards the end of the year, the Tigers pretty much collapsed. Like they stumbled into the playoffs, right? Like they blew one of the biggest leads in MLB history for the division. And somebody like Justin Verlander, a champion, somebody who's won and seen a lot in the league, even if he's not pitching, he might just be the voice that can settle everybody down. Like, hey guys, let's stop it here. Let's not let this snowball into something, anything bigger. And him being a big voice, somebody who's respected in the league, I think that's going to be a large value in what he brings to the team. On top of pitching, like you say, he's going to be a competitor. He's going to be a dog out there. He's going to get out there and try and compete to win every time he gets the ball.
Yeah, see, I think it's a reach that he gets to 300, but you know what this offense Detroit does have? You know what? You never say never, but obviously the road to 300 is going to be challenging. Again, like I reiterated, he's going to settle that pitching staff down. Tigers have a lot of good young arms on there. They got the Helton kid and, you know, Jacob, Joe, whatever, but and Troy Melton. So let's continue. I'm sorry about that. All right, so Barry went ahead last week, mentioned on his opinion that he didn't like the idea about position players going out there and pitching. So that led me to believe that Kody Clemens did, and he's now with the Minnesota Twins. So I had a conversation about Kody Clemens, obviously the son of Roger Clemens. Just give me a thought of what it was like to be on the hill, and we'll go from there. Can he play the tape? Barry was definitely right. You could certainly bring up other minor leaguers if you have to under emergency situation. But let me tell you, Barry, I got to back up your Barry's viewpoint with a point, and we did it from the clubhouse over in Fort Myers at Hammond Stadium. Thanks to our friends at the Minnesota Twins. And here's Kody Clemens. Go ahead. Excuse me.
Position guy, but I have fun with it. I mean, at least try and have as much fun as I can, even though we're getting our butt kicked. But it's cool to just throw and be on the mound in the big leagues. It's pretty cool. But yeah, just try to have fun with it as much as you can.
How cool is it, though, to be the son of a guy who had an iconic career like your dad, Roger, the best pitcher's son, growing up, watching this guy win wherever he went? To me, that has to be something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I had the best childhood ever. You know, he is an unbelievable dad. It was with them, you know, getting to hang out with Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera and all the greats over there in New York. But it was awesome because he was so intimidating on the.
All right, Kay, did you get much of that, or did you get the beginning of it? Anyways, I think you got a good sample size, Barry. What are your thoughts, Barry, about what Kody said about getting in the game as a pitcher?
I think position players going out there to pitch stink still. I think the fact that his father was a Hall of Famer, you know, gives it a little bit of something. You can say, you know, you've got a chance to pitch. I just think it's disgraceful to use position players as pitchers. And I'll never, nothing any of them can say or do will change my mind about that.
Well, wouldn't looking to change their mind, but I think one of the intriguing parts of me asking him the question was he was the son, obviously, of Roger Clemens.
Yeah, I think that part makes it an interesting story, but I just think it's awful for the game.
I agree. I don't like it either, to be honest with you. You can add if you have to bring up an extra pitching, one or two pitchers, that's fine. But to resort to that, I'm with you, Barry. Okay, Warren.
I agree 100%. Having a position player, you know, pitching in a big league game, even if it's 15-0, you know, is ridiculous because they're not throwing at the velocity. If they could throw at 85 to 90 miles an hour, that's a different story. But you don't see too many position players that can at least pitch that way. They may throw it that way across the diamond, but they can't pitch it that way. And it, you know, it kind of, it makes a farce out of the game, you know. But that for Kody, that's a big thrill because his father was such an iconic pitcher. And for him to have a chance to pitch one time, okay, good, done. turn the page, because it's sad when position players pitch. It makes a farce out of the game.
Well, that's the reason why I asked him that question, because of the Roger connection. That's what I was looking to do, pitcher to pitcher. I know he's a pretty good position player, by the way.
Right.
He is. Okay, Hollywood.
Hey, man. It does kind of make a mockery of the game, but between last week and this week, I saw something that made me push back just a little bit, Bigfoot. Just a little bit. Anthony Rizzo has a career 0.00 ERA with a strikeout against one Freddie Freeman. Okay. So, hey, if you don't want to see position players get in there, turn it into a home run derby. Okay. You gotta get hits on them, because if they can prove they can get outs, they're gonna lean on them, especially if the game gets too out of hand. But I get it. It was more of a joking manner. Even the strikeout, everybody had a laugh about it. And at some point, when you're getting your butt whooped bad enough, you might want to turn it into a joke so you can laugh instead of crying.
Okay, Candy, you were there with me.
I was. I mean, I remember him talking about it. I remember going back to some of the games. Scott, I think there was a game. Wasn't there a game where a Tiger had played like almost every position?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I agree, though, with Barry. I think it taints stats and it changes stats, because if you're used to going against pitchers and then all of a sudden you go against somebody that's, throwing 70, 80 mile an hour for what they consider their fastball compared to what, other people are throwing 90s, it makes a difference. And when it comes down to voting on who's the MVP, and not just the MVP, but certain stats, it does change for batters now. And for pitchers, it takes away from, and obviously you've exhausted a lot of pitchers, but it might even take away from some of the pitching stats for innings and all that. So yeah, I don't like it. I also am one of the only ones that watched the an all-star game end in a tie because they didn't have any pitchers left to pitch. So I've seen that side of it too, but yeah, I don't like it, but I guess I understand, when you run out of pitchers, you run out of pitchers like they did in the all-star game.
Okay. All right, let's, I think Prather referred to 5-man rotation, but we're going to talk about what the Yankees have done to begin the season at least. And that's this. They're using a 4-man rotation. Yankees will begin the season using a 4-man rotation. Max Fried, rookie Cam Skittler, or whatever, how you pronounce it, Will Wallen, and Lewis Gill. Gary Cole, obviously, he's not going to return at the end of June due to Tommy John surgery. Let me go over some of these numbers for some of these players. Max Fried, obviously, is going into the season 2 of an 8-year deal with the Yankees with a 2.86 ERA and 25. Cam Skittler steps up. Huh?
None, Bear. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Rookie, Cam, whatever, Skittler or whatever, stepped up to beat the Red Sox in the wild card series last year with a 2.96 ERA, and he looked good doing it. Will Warren, going into his 3rd year with the team with a 4.44 ERA, and of course the trade acquisition of the Marlins, Ryan Weathers as well. And we talked about Rookie of the Year. Lewis Gill is the odd man out. Garrett Cole has said that he's eyeing a June return for Tommy John surgery. Barry, what are your thoughts about the 4-man rotation?
Did it for 3 years managing in the Blue Jays organization. They did a 4-man rotation. And the way they have pitch count today, I'm not sure why they don't do it more often. Just your number 5 guy in a lot of ball clubs is very marginal. So why not throw your top 4 guys out there, every 4th day? So I don't mind it, and they can't get injured any more than they already are. So I think that I like it. I actually like it. I was surprised the Blue Jays didn't really try to do it at the big league level, but that's a hard thing to change at that level. But I think giving it a shot is probably a smart move for the Yankees.
What about you, Uncle Warren?
Oh, it's definitely, with the amount of off days they have, especially the East Coast and Midwest teams, they get a lot of off days in April. So you don't really need a fifth starter, and there's no sense to have one. You want to keep your four-man rotation or your best four pitchers going on every fifth day, so they get into their habits. And giving them an extra day throws a lot of guys off. I mean, you see stats where guys pitching on the fourth day do better than they do the fifth or sixth day, and sometimes they do better with the extra day of rest. But for the most part, pitchers are, we're creatures of habit. And that's what, those starting pitchers, they want to be out there every fifth day. They're chomping at the bit, and to keep them on a regular schedule does a whole pitching staff good. Now you can take your five guy and make him a long man in case one of your starters struggles, and he'll get his innings. You've got time to get him, or there'll be times for him to pitch too. They're carrying so many pitchers now. You can give a guy an inning with no problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love what you said. Four-man in rotation, the fifth guy would be a long man. I'm all the way there. Great point, Uncle Warren. Okay, Tony.
Yeah, the Yankees, they announced it because of the extra off days they got with the earlier start to the season. They already had two in this week, so it makes sense. I think in 2 weeks or so, they're going to elevate Luis Hill back onto the roster to go to a five-man rotation. But me, just as a Yankees fan, and me looking at Luis Hill, I feel like he should be a long reliever. So it's interesting that you say that, Warren. Just his skill set, I don't feel like should be the fifth starter anyway. But the Yankees got a lot of starters, so they may actually end up doing what I've seen the Dodgers plan on going to, and they might go to a six-man rotation by the time it's all said and done. Which I don't know how that's going to work with the pitchers, but you have a few of them come. Well, Rodon, Cole, and Smith will be coming back from injury, so that will protect them from a lot of innings. So you're going to see a lot of different things happening depending on what the team has and what they can throw out there.
Hey, Candy.
We've seen other teams do bullpen days where you throw out some of your bullpen players in a starter and see, how long they can go. And I can see a four-man rotation. If they don't have their stuff on a given night, then go to the bullpen, and you got to go to the bullpen early. We've seen those kind of things. So four-man rotation doesn't worry me because that it's not going to last forever. They actually have how many guys coming back yet off injuries. So.
Okay. Well, again, Uncle Warren summed it up. Put four guys in there with a fifth guy being a long man. I think that, to me, is the one thing that stands out in all of this. Unfortunately for the Atlanta Braves, they've lost a lot of people going into the year. Let me go over the list for you. Jackson Profar is out for the season. Ha-Seng Kim is out until May. Sean Murphy's out till May. Joey Wentz is out all year. Christian Waldrop is out until mid-season. Spencer Schwellenbach until mid-season. Spencer Strider for at least a few weeks. All this before the season starts. Barry, that's not good.
The biggest losses are those pitchers. You can't have those pitchers. This game really is, at the end of the day, if you're going to win, it's pitching and defense. Obviously, everybody nowadays has some offense, but pitching and defense wins championships. So you start losing guys like Strider and all, that's going to hurt you. Just like when the Yankees lose their top guys, that pitching staff is going to suffer.
Hey, Uncle Warren.
Well, Atlanta's been pretty consistent for 10 years and, playoffs year in, year out. Last year they didn't make the playoffs, and now, they're starting to slide, and injuries are a lot to do it. That was a lot of the reason behind it. They lost a lot of their pitching depth, and you bring your lower end guys or your tail end guys and having to slide them into 1, 2, and 3 spots, you're in trouble. They just aren't capable of pitching, facing other teams number 1, number 2. So it really, in the long run, it really hurts. And I think that's what happened to Atlanta last year. They kind of slid and fell on hard times just because of all the injuries they've had.
Yeah, well, tough start for them again, losing these players, Tony.
Yeah, I was speaking of TikTok. We talked a little about TikTok earlier, Scott, is a young lady who's a huge Braves fan that I've commented on one of her posts. And I said throughout the offseason, the biggest free agent pickup the Braves need to have is a new training staff because they need help. That's the only issue it seems to be with the Braves the last couple of years, people not staying healthy. And it was more so joking about a training staff because you can't help somebody getting hurt around the base paths. But it's just starting to be the thing. My cousin, who's one of my best friends, a long-time Braves fan, I want to believe in them, but they're starting to feel like they're snake bitten. Like it's starting to seem like it's just something about them, man. Is you walk in the dugout, the clubhouse, have the nurse ready. Somebody's getting hurt. If they can figure out a way, the good thing about baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long season. Strider's not out the whole season. A couple of guys are, but they should be able to get whole around 4th of July. And that's a good time to get ready to make a run at it.
Candy?
Didn't we comment that last year the Dodgers had a lot of rest because they had injuries, and that's why? And then by the end of the year, their pitchers were roaring to go in the World Series, and they really took stronghold of everybody. Not to say that that's what's happening with the Dodgers. I mean the Braves. The Braves obviously have had some different things have happened to them, like their shortstop, Kim. He slipped on ice back in January. He's not expected to return till May after he had surgery. They have another guy that had bone spurs removed from surgery back in February. He's not likely to return until June or July. Another one had elbow surgery back in February. Another one went under left knee surgery back in November of 2025. He may miss significant time. That's Joe Jimenez. And then we have some that have just recently started getting injured. And obviously we can't forget they have Jerickson Profar, who was suspended for the whole season for PED violations. So they've had a number of different players out for a number of different reasons. I've often said that a lot of, and not all of it can we obviously blame the training staff, because the training staff isn't part of you slipping and falling on ice or, some of that. But I think sometimes we talk about these players and they get so specialized that doing the same exact motion all the time throughout their career has an effect on your body, and you're more prone to having injuries at times. I don't know what the answer is. We'll see if modern medicine can help eliminate some of these injuries or help prevent some of them going forward.
Yeah. So we've got everybody accounted for on this topic, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to, did I get everybody? I hope I did. Anyways, let's talk about the Atlanta Braves, shall we? I had an opportunity to speak to Tony Diaz, the new Braves coach. We actually talked about, we talked about Armando Galarraga and his complete game that wasn't to be. You'd be surprised what response he gave us. And then we also have in here Walt Weiss on the addition of adding Tony Diaz. We're going to have Tony Diaz on the next couple of weeks is what we're going to end up doing, because he provides a lot of great sound bites. So Candy, go to the tape.
About that play, and should they have overturned it and given them that anyways? I know anybody can say that Armando Galarraga is probably the reason that we got the replay, but come on, I mean, this guy should have a perfect game, and they've never had one before.
Yeah, if it definitely is up to me, I would reverse that and give him the no call, and but again, if that's what that's what he led to. And now we have instant replay. Well, then we're better off because of it. But again, that Galarraga, that breaks your heart when you go like, oh my goodness, you know how hard it is to throw a no-hitter at any level, and then you lose it because of that.
Well, no hitter. This guy lost a perfect game. So with that said, okay, what are your thoughts about combined no hitters? Don't you think that takes away from the accomplishment itself?
Yeah, well, sometimes you can't. Yeah, it can take away a little bit of the accomplishment, but at the same time, it's we our responsibility is to make sure that our guys are healthy, and we don't want to put our guy in jeopardy just because we're trying to get that no hitter, get a combined no hitter. It's probably this.
All right, so Barry, what are your takeaways about both combined no hitter and the perfect game that wasn't?
Well, I mean, I hated it for Galarraga. I hated it for the I can't remember what umpire it was, but he was crying after the game when he saw
Joyce,
it.
I believe,
and he was very apologetic the next day. I mean, it's a human game. You know, humans make mistakes. Now you have a way to fix the mistake, but it's just part of the game. Combined no hitters, who cares? No hitters don't mean anything. Nobody remembers them. It's just a win for the team that most of the time it's a win for the team that has the combined no hitter. But as far as anything in the history books, it goes down like a rainout.
I love it. Well, I tell you, Barry, I like Bigfoot. You're getting better at this broadcasting thing. Guys like you become more outspoken if they throw this stuff out there. I'm proud of Bigfoot. Great stuff, Barry. Okay, Uncle Warren, that was pretty good.
Well, yeah, that definitely was sad when he lost his perfect game because of a bad call, and the umpire, obviously he felt bad, and it just didn't, maybe not quite as bad as Galarraga felt, but he realized he made a huge mistake, and he rectified it the best he could the next day when they exchanged the lineup cards. So, and they combined no hitters, that's big deal. Unless the guy throws it himself, it just, maybe it's in the record books, but it's an afterthought.
Yeah, right. And after Hollywood gets done, Ken, you're going to cue up the tape with what Walt Weiss says about Diaz. This Diaz, Barry and Uncle Warren, this guy's a pretty sharp guy. He really, really is. And over the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear more about him. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, look, I'm somebody who has recently said I don't like all the technology in sports. I like the human element of it, but that's an exception to the rule. Hey, man, that was terrible. And when it comes to combined no hitters, I can't stand them. Like nothing makes me more upset watching a baseball game and seeing somebody with a no hitter get pulled out, and then it gets celebrated as a team no hitter. It's just not the same, man. And I hear my dad kind of in my voice. Back in my day, we wasn't looking at pitch counts. You let them go. And I kind of feel it. I wish we kind of got back to that.
Okay, Ken, you were there with me for both the one that you heard, the next one you're going to play. What's your takeaway with the coach?
I think it's unfortunate for Galarraga. And this is the reason why we do need instant replay or ABS and looking at some of these, because there is a human element. And let's think about it. The human element is the reason why this guy doesn't have a complete, game, and not even just a complete game, a perfect game. There are so few of those in baseball history that the human element got it wrong. To take it away from him is sad. But again, that's why technology sometimes does work in the favor now of, the players. So I will say that, and then I'll key up the next one.
Okay.
Here we
Kind of a dimension does he bring to this team? He seems like a really well organized and energized guy, and I really liked everything he stands for.
Yeah, Tony's great. I mean, I go way back with Tony. He's a Swiss Army knife on a coaching staff. He could do anything. Like yesterday, our third base coach had to leave in the middle of the game. Tony goes out and coaches third. I mean, that's not easy to do. He's done that at the major league level. He's been a third base coach. He's been a bench coach. He's coordinated camps, and he's coordinating our camp. I've known Tony since he was a
a young 20-something-year-old coach in the Pioneer League. That's when we first met, and we've come close. Become close over the years and stayed in touch. And that was with the Rocky system. Stayed in touch after I left Colorado, and he's a really good baseball man. Obviously bilingual. He touches every player every day, and he's got just a really good feel for the room.
He says he's managed a little bit too, including in the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, no, he's done it all. Really good baseball man. He's not all that old either. You know? He's got a lot of experience. So no, Tony's.
Okay, well, Barry, obviously, Weiss had a lot of good things to say about Mr. Diaz, who we'll see next week. But what are your thoughts about it, Tony Diaz?
Well, I'd say that Diaz should probably root for Walt Weiss to keep a job a long time, so he can have a job a long time. But he does seem like he's evidently a player's guy. He's bilingual, which is certainly valuable in today's game with so many Latino players. But he seems like a good baseball guy, and he'll be a valuable. Look, the coaches are only as good as the manager wants them to be. Because they got to like the coach, and the coach, give the coach opportunity to do his thing. And that sounds like what Walt Weiss is doing with him, letting him, be an integral part of the staff and get out there and do his thing.
Okay, great stuff, Barry. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, Walt Weiss is a great baseball man, so for him to stay in touch with Tony and have the friendship that they have, it's good, and it's somebody that Walt can depend on. And that's what you need. A manager needs coaching staff that he can depend on and delegate different responsibilities and not have to worry about if they're getting done right. At the end of the day, he gets everything done that Walt needs him to do. And, he's obviously a great baseball man. He's been around the game a long time and's got a lot of experience for, like Walt said, as young as he is.
Tony?
Yeah, like Bigfoot said, man, he sounds like he's giving a great reference. And as long as he got a job, he's going to be next to him. But the good thing is, what I hear most is, and you guys can speak to this better than me, of course, part of the job is managing personalities. And it seems like Tony Diaz does a good job of connecting with all the players to manage personalities and be more than just a coach, right? Be more of the human aspect of being the coach with them. So that's going to be good for him, and that can help him further his career if he wants to be a manager at some point, because this is how it starts, right?
Well, let me tell you, we'll have another piece with Tony Diaz next Monday night for sure, and then this might give you guys more reasons why he should be a manager. And I'm telling you one thing, like Barry says, you stay around Weiss for a while, you stay in there long enough, being bilingual, you got a shot, and I predict he will be a manager down the road. Candy, some quick takeaways on it, and then we have a few more topics of rapid fire. We'll be done. Go ahead, Candy.
He was raised in the Dominican Republic. He immigrated to the United States at 18 to play college baseball. He started his baseball career at Gulf Coast State College before moving to Florida International University. Unfortunately, he suffered an arm injury, and that's when he switched from his playing career to being a coach. And the Rockies were specifically looking for a bilingual coach, and that's where he started as coaching. Obviously, now he's hired with the Braves. He sounds very versatile, which is very helpful, and especially a coach. Walt was saying, the thing that I liked about him, he was saying he went in the middle of the game to start coaching third base. And he said that's not always easy to do in the middle of a game, go in and coach a different spot than you were coaching for the rest of the game. But he seems like a very friendly, outgoing guy that really genuinely cares about his players. And that's what I took from your talking to him with all the questions, not just the one that we played on here.
Yeah, I hit him with a lot of questions, as I always try to do, Tony, Barry, and Uncle Warren. I'll tell you, the guy was just a class act. He'll get another key one next week. A few more topics, rapid fire, as we try to keep things on pace. But I know we had to cover a lot of ground today, let alone with opening day. The Mets are actually calling pitches from the dugout rather than behind the plate. The approach allows the coaches to communicate pitch selection during games. Barry, do you like it?
Hate it. Most of those guys, the only thing they know about pitching is hard to hit. So, no, I don't like it at all. I think there's a certain rapport that pitching staff gets with their catcher. And when you take that away, you're taking away a real part of the game. It goes back to all this crap that they got. They're smarter than the game with all the stats. And that's not how this game works. And I think it'll end up showing up on the wins and loss column.
Gray minds think alike, Barry. That's my opinion, too. I agree with you 100%. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, there's no question that pitcher and catcher, they have to have a rapport to work together. And
Right.
now you throw a third person and gets involved, and if it was an ex-catcher, I could understand it, but that's as far as I'd go, and it's the catcher gets a feel. I mean, he sees the hitter in the batter's box. There's all sorts of things that the catcher has advantage over because he's right in the middle of the action, and to think somebody can call pitches from the dugout is I could see it. I did it at a junior college level and they talked me into it. I didn't like it at all. And I had some success with it because the kids had stuff and they didn't know how to use it. But these are major league pitchers. That's a different story. They have stuff and they should know how to use their stuff. And working with the catcher, it makes the game go way faster because you get in sync with your catcher and he knows what you want the next pitch and boom, the game just flows, and now having to look over at the dugout or whatever, however, that slows the game down or slows, as far as I was concerned, the pitching down.
Well, see, being a former catcher, how can I not agree with you? I like to be in the game so the pitcher, the dialogue is straight.
Right.
It's not like a trapezoid, okay? Down, okay, to the dish, and we don't need a trapezoid. I think that's what it has. Trapezoids are what, 3 out, whatever. I like the straight line approach. I don't know.
Right.
So don't let me think I know anything about it because I don't know it. All right, but I'm trying. The straight line works from pitcher to catcher. All right, Tony.
One thing the Mets gonna do, they're gonna Met it. They're gonna find a way, man. They're gonna find a way to make it weird. It doesn't make any sense to me. What happened to the days of Greg Maddux not even having a sign to throw down? If I catch it like this, I want my pitch like that. If I catch it like this, I'm throwing this pitch next. We went from being able to communicate that simple to adding a whole nother chef in the kitchen. And like you guys are saying with communication, it's a telephone game. You're communicating something to somebody who's communicating to somebody else who's trying to communicate it to another person. Things will get lost in translation. We've all played that game in elementary at some point.
Mm-hmm.
At some point that is going to be messed up. And I've never seen a relationship in sports like a pitcher and catcher is supposed to have in the midst of a game. That should not come from the dugout. You have moments where your pitching coach can come out there and say what they've seen throughout the course of the game or the course of a couple of at-bats, but I don't feel like they should be in on every pitch. It seems like it's too much, too complicated. But hey, if this means the Mets are going to have an epic collapse, I'm all for it.
All right, just a note here. We're not going to put any World Series projections in here tonight. I have a few other things I want to do. We'll defer on that a little bit. Keep the show moving as well because there are other things like who's going to win division. I want to get here before we go out there and make the final result. Speaking of which, is our first one is who will win the NL Central: the Brewers, the Cardinals, Cubs, Pirates, and Reds. They don't need a law. So, Barry, who do you think in that group?
I'm going to go with the Cubs this go around. Although I think the Brewers. That's going to be a very competitive, division. So, but I'm going to go with the Cubs.
Okay, Candy.
I'm going to go with the Brewers and Pat Murphy earning another Manager of the Year award. I think he just had Tony. I understand, and yes, that's my team. But I also think that he gets the most out of that team. And look at this is the first time Yelich, came in and had a knockoff ending home run, pinch hit home run. Last game, I think they just have a gel about them. The way the camaraderie, And I think Pat Murphy's going to have him playing good, even with Freddie Peralta being traded away. So he gets the most out of his young players.
Fair enough. Okay. I figured you were going to make that prediction. All right. Hollywood.
I'm going Reds. Give me the fighting Terry Franconas. All right. He always finds a way to win. He didn't come to Cincinnati just to manage. He came to win.
Yeah, I like that. That's intriguing. All right, Uncle Warren.
Well, I got to go with the Cubs. I think they've got a couple years of solid play. They got a lot of young players that they're signing to major or long-term contracts, and they've got some stability, and they've got a pretty good pitching staff.
I'm not going against the Cubs either. Craig Counsell, obviously, they've added some pieces during the offseason. We'll see where that goes. So let's go to the American League Central. We'll stay with the Central team today. Who will win? At Cleveland, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago White Sox. Lead it off with you, Barry.
That'll be another competitive division. Like the the Guardians are going to look good and they're going to play well, I think. But I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think that, Witt's going to be a MVP type player. The first baseman is going to drive in 100 runs. The catcher is a leader and is going to do well until he can't anymore. And so I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Fair enough. Okay, Candy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one, but I think the Tigers are going to edge everybody out.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, I got the Tigers.
You got the Tigers. Good. He's being nice to me. Okay.
No, I got the Tigers. You added Framber Valdez. Like I say, they were so far ahead last year, and they just collapsed. I don't think they do that again this year.
I agree. Great stuff, Tony. I love you, pal. Okay, Uncle Warren.
Yeah, I gotta think the Tigers are going to win. Yeah. They can avoid the collapse. They got a couple years under their belt now that young kids are starting to come of age, and they're not going to let that happen again this year.
Yeah, and I got to go Tigers too. We're going to talk more about Kevin McGonigal next week. Tigers, AJ Hinch, that pitching staff. They have some help in the back of the bullpen. You got Kenley Jansen, I think, is the closer, and you have Kyle Finnegan coming back. Okay, let's talk about Pete Crow Armstrong. He gets extended. Barry, your thoughts about the Cubbies extending him?
They got a bargain. When they extend these young guys, it's all about the algorithm of trying to figure out how you're going to save some money, and then the player deciding, am I going to take the guarantee in case I get hurt? In the case of this kid, I just think he could be a real superstar, a great defensive player. So I think it's a bargain for the Cubs. I think it's a smart move.
Candy?
Yeah, I think it's a smart move for them. I mean, he was a Gold Glove Award winner last year, All-Star. He was drafted by the Mets, believe it or not.
Mets gonna met it.
Yep, exactly. He was traded to the Cubs for Javier Baez and Trevor Williams back in 2021. So smart for the Cubs. They definitely will be someone to reckon with. Although his batting average is only .240, so we'll see if that improves.
Okay, Uncle Warren.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great move by the Cubs. To sign a young kid that's just starting to come into his own, and to sign him for 6 years, whatever they did, gives them some stability, gives him stability, and they know who's they're going to pencil in the lineup every day in center field.
Tony?
Look, this is a great deal. You think Kyle Tucker got sick? Got this for 3 years? You're able to spread this out. You get somebody who I jokingly said, but I mean, let's be honest. He was their best outfielder last year, not Kyle Tucker. And they got him for under $20 million a year. They got him long-term. They can lock him up. Somebody who may compete for MVPs going forward. Well, not in the National League because that's the Ohtani Award. But somebody who's going to be an all-star in the National League going forward. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I like locking up players for a long period of time. So I'll have some of those stories as well. All right, final topic of the night, if we call it a topic, because it really isn't. It's my man Bigfoot's opportunity to give us his viewpoint. All right, Perry, go for it.
Catching. They have ruined catching. And I don't know if it's ever going to get better. When they get the ABS and they're going to have the automatic balls and strikes, these catchers that are butchers behind the plate now with this stuff of trying to steal pitches and what they call framing, I think they've ruined catching, and it's really going to show up once they get to the point where they're going to have this automatic umpiring stuff going on. You're going to see catching and really how bad it has become. Hopefully they can change it, but I doubt it. I think if you talk to any catcher who caught in my era going up till probably the last 10 years, they just shake their head. They can't believe the way they teach catching nowadays. But it is what it's going to be because that's what they're teaching nowadays.
And being a former catcher, how can I not agree with you for sure? Uncle Warren, any thoughts about Barry's viewpoint?
Well, that's what's happened to the game. All these people that think they know more about than the coaches and players or people that have played the game. There's nothing better than an old catcher to teach catchers how to catch. It's just that's part of the game. And if they're teaching it different than they have in the past, it's definitely wrong because the old school is the way to do it. That's something that shouldn't change much. Because again, it's the rapport between the pitcher and the catcher that gets everything done on as far as pitching's concerned.
Okay, great stuff. Anybody else want to add to it?
I agree. Look, and like I said earlier, I love the human element of sports. Okay, we can't make this robotic. That is the fun of it. It's the joy, the pain. I call it the plot twist in the movie. When the ump or the ref or whoever makes a bad call, that's the plot twist in the movie that you didn't see coming. It's part of the game. I don't like all of the technology that's being involved.
One thing I'd like to add to that
sure.
is by taking away pitch calling and doing it in the dugout instead of letting the catcher do it, the catcher knows what pitch the pitcher is on and what he's doing really well with. Because let's face it, sometimes a pitcher is really hitting a good corner and is really hot, and sometimes they're not. And sometimes sitting in the dugout, you can't tell which corner or which one he's doing really well with. That's part of the feel of being a catcher, as knowing the pitcher's specialty, knowing what batters can't do. There's a lot of knowledge that goes into a catcher, and if they're taking some of that away, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. Well, I know what's fortunate is we have a great show tonight here. Glad to have Trent Clark on our first hour. Barry Foot, as always, you're awesome. Same as you, Warren Brewstar. And Tony, you're just amazing to have on the network all the way around. I love having you. Candy does a great job with the stats. With that said, we'll get ready to wrap this bad boy up. Warren, please let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
I can be reached at brewster40@gmail.com.
And of course, you're going to see Warren on Monday night.
Monday night baseball. Yes.
We love having Warren Brewstar here on Monday night because he's our star as well. So pun intended, you bet. And I apologize. Love having him on Monday night. And of course, Tony is obviously one of our stars in baseball. And we get a Monday and Wednesday night. There won't be a Saturday baseball show for a little while yet. We're just going to try to keep everything on Monday night rolled into one show. I'll let people know when we do it. So, Tony, you're best not doing Monday or Wednesday night for a while until further notice, okay? But that said, let everybody know to get hold of you. And I also know Tony is going to be my TikTok mentor, okay?
Yeah, y'all can find me on all social media of it's Talking Game 1, YouTube, Tony Talking Game. Just did a MLB series with to open up for opening day. About to do something very similar for the NBA. Get as many teams to talk about as many teams as possible before the playoffs. So stay tuned. A lot of content coming out.
Okay. All right, Candy, take us the rest of the way. Well, I actually got Barry Foot.
You can get me, bfootxx at AOL.com. And Monday nights, always Monday nights, with the motor mouth, mad mouth himself.
There you go. I can't wait to get to North Carolina. Barry will give you one big hug and talk baseball like we used to do in the good old days at Fort Lauderdale Stadium.
There you
So
go.
now I have you. I have the luxury of having you on my show Monday night, and I get to see you. Oh, what a beautiful thing! I don't.
Thanks
A
for
lot of my
having me.
family members are dying off, but I got some pretty great friends and good people that I associate with family, and I got a few of them here on the network tonight. All right, Candy, take us away.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. The audio version is also out there and available. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to be a guest or you want to advertise, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And last but not least, if you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just click it, like, and share us with all your friends and family. And then make sure you turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Definitely go check out some of the interviews. If you liked some of the little clips that we played on here, the full interviews are out there on our YouTube channel. Go check it out. Again, South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Monday night, you got baseball. You have us, Trent Clark, and I'm working on some other people as well. Hey, Warren, before we go, you heard of Barry Bloom, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's one of my good friends. I'm trying to work on getting him on a show here on Monday night so you can reconnect with him. I just have to find a Monday when he's not covering a game. And Barry Foote, you'll know about him. And, of course, Hollywood Tony knows about Barry, don't you?
I do know about Barry.
Yeah, he's not with us. I'm working on it again, Tony. So it's always nailed there. That does it tonight. Don't want to carry this any longer. We got everything we need to get done. Our predictions for the World Series will wait till a later date when I'm able to get the divisions all taken care of on the show. So on behalf of Trent Clark, Barry Bigfoot, I got a good ring to it, actually. Candy Evelyn. I can't stop laughing now. I'm almost getting close to speechless of Bigfoot. It was good. He's getting his broadcasting thing down pretty good. And Warren Broussard and Hollywood Tony. And I went to Sesame City Tony. That does it for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Have a great night. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll look to do better next Monday night. Take care, everybody. And we will catch you next Monday night at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.